So this is Until Dawn.
Mother trucker!
You said check it out. You didn't say something?
And this is Until Dawn.
And then what?
Oh, here comes the hug. Oh no.
Oh yeah. Oh more.
I love how cheesy this is. This is so cheesy.
So there is a potential great game in here, but there's also a lot of reasons why people might not like this game. Also, in case you're wondering if this is a good game to play with your partner, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever they might be, we're gonna hit you with the backseat gamer's perspective. So let's jump right into the review.
So our story begins.
Hey, what is up everyone? Me, I'm Riso, aka Aether Wolf, and welcome to the Wolf's Den. Okay, so we're gonna start this review by asking two very important questions. Is this a good game, and is it a scary game? Y'all know I ain't trying to fiddle your goose, so let's just get right into it. Is it a scary game? Yes, the game can definitely be scary. I think with the way they mix in the music, the environment, and the story, you can get really creeped out by this game. Not just that, this game has a lot of jump scares. While some of them are really good and you don't see coming and they hit you with the
What the fudge? No. No.
Some of them don't have the same kind of punch, but I would be lying if I said that these jump scares didn't make the overall experience a little more freaky. So like I said, just walking around this game feels eerie. Throw in some creepy sound effects and knowing that there's something out there trying to get you. Oh yeah, you'll find yourself being in moments of suspense consistently. Is this game gory? Yeah, it has its moments, but I'm glad to say it doesn't rely on gore to try and be scary. So it can be, but it's not overbearing. Something that I liked about this game is it touches on multiple different ways in which you can get scared. What I mean by this, it has some supernatural stuff in there. It has some real life scary killer scenarios. If you're afraid of ghosts, it's got something like that. If you're afraid of clowns, it's got something for you. If you're afraid of being alone, feeling like you're isolated, it's got a little bit of bullying and betrayal in there too. Not to mention insanity, someone literally losing their mind. Taking all these things together, the answer to the question, is this a scary game? Highly dependent on how much of a scaredy cat you are. Take someone like me, who's a massive scaredy cat. Is it a scary game? Yeah, I played this game once a couple years ago, and I had to play it with someone by my side the entire time. Played it again now, and I wouldn't want to play it alone. Having my girl by my side helped. But if you're a big Mr. Macho Man or Macho Woman, or Macho They Them Theirs, you might not find this game too scary, but that's where the other question needs to be answered. Is this a good game, period? Should you play it, even if it's not scary to you? Short and easy answer from me, yes, I think it's a good game. Is it something that everyone's gonna love? Not necessarily. So let's get into that. So why is this game not for everyone? Because it can be pretty cheesy at times. While the story and the characters have the really serious moments, there are some very cringeworthy scenes, and there are times that they're trying to be serious and it just doesn't work. But personally, me and my girlfriend found this to be something that added to the game. If it was something super cheesy or something super cringy, we laughed, we enjoyed it. It's like watching, this is the perfect description of the game, watching a cheesy teen movie where a bunch of teenagers go to a cabin in the woods and there's a creepy killer there, or there's some weird supernatural stuff going on. That pretty much defines Until Dawn. There's little relationships going on because they're all teens. There's some juicy catfights that happen with the ex-boyfriend and the ex-girlfriend, the relationship stuff.
No one wants in on your territory, honey.
Oh.
Excuse me?
Oh.
Say something?
Oh, did you
Oh.
not hear me? Was your sluttiness too loud?
Sounds like someone's bitter she didn't make the cut.
Yeah.
Dang.
A big cattle call with that dreamboat. Congrats, you're top.
Oh.
Cut's real deep calling Miss Homecoming a cow.
Oh.
Come on.
No, shut up, Matt.
Oh.
See.
Dumb oaf. Hey, watch
I
it.
can't do that.
No one
A
else.
girls,
Boy,
ladies.
you're such a bitch. Whatever. I don't give a crap what you
I thought one of them was catty, but they both are.
You're gonna have the clear, obvious characters who are put in there for you to hate. And in terms of someone that you're just gonna love, I don't really know if I found anyone in there that I was like, oh, I love them, but we'll wait to talk about that more. But my point is, you have your classic cast of cheesy teen movie characters. So what is it that this game does really good at? It constantly keeps you guessing on what exactly is going on. It constantly has you flipping back and forth between, is this something that really could happen in real life, or is this just like a made up story? Is it supernatural? Is it a killer? Is it a ghost? What's happening? So I like that. I like that throughout the game I was trying to figure out the mystery, and my head was constantly jumping back and forth between, is this something real or not?
Is any of this for real?
or not.
Without talking about any spoilers, it does have some good twists at the end. I know that the first time I played this game, I had no idea. And even the second time around that I played it with my girlfriend, she also had no idea when they revealed the big twist. So if you like games with a little bit of twist at the end, you're gonna enjoy this one. So let's talk a little bit about the story. There is a main overarching story, and then there's a couple of side stories going on that you can decide to further get into by finding some collectibles and really exploring the environment, or completely ignore and just focus on the main story. Something that will add to your experience or take away from the experience is that characters can die in this game. The characters who you play as can die. If you make all the wrong choices and kill everyone off a little bit too fast, you're gonna find yourself missing out on some good chunks of story. Not too much, but again, it all just depends on which characters you have die and which characters you have survive. There is an ending that you can get where if all your characters just die. So in my opinion, and this probably makes the most sense, if you are enjoying the game, the best way to play it is by having all your characters survive. Would I go as far to say to constantly have a guide pulled up to make sure nobody dies? Probably not. Just because the game is enjoyable enough, and there are some characters that are really easy to kill off, and there are some characters that are a lot harder to kill off. So if you just go into it blind, make whatever decisions you want to make, I think that's how you're gonna have the best experience. After you beat the game, it does have chapter select, so then you can go back if you want to go back to a particular chapter and try and have everyone survive. That's how I would go about it. I do not think it's crucial for you to play this game with everyone surviving, because nonetheless you will understand what the game was about if you have at least some main characters survive. And even then, it's not really super hard to get everyone to survive. So odds are, even in your first playthrough, you might do a playthrough with everyone surviving. Now, in terms of just the story, how good is the story? I think that it's really good. Especially the first time I played this game, I binged through it. If you're into games like The Walking Dead, Detroit Become Human, Heavy Rain, this game is right up your alley. You've probably already heard of it. But where does it rank amongst those games? Let's use Detroit Become Human and Heavy Rain, two games that I've already played, and actually I already made a Detroit Become Human review up here. Between the three of those, in terms of pure story, Detroit Become Human, Until Dawn, Heavy Rain. And we all know Heavy Rain is really good. And I'm being a little bit subjective here, right? I'm putting in my personal opinion. But the point of me doing that is I really love those two games, and I think that this game deserves to be up there. So does it have a good story? Yes, I would say so. So now let's talk about the characters. They're okay. I think that's the thing. This game I played purely for the story. While in other games like Detroit Become Human, you end up getting really attached to some of the characters. You can play certain games like Uncharted and be like, dang, Nathan Drake is a really cool character. This game never made me feel that way. For me, the characters were there as a means to just progress the story. And if I didn't want someone to die, it wasn't because I cared about them necessarily. It was just because I wanted to get as much story as I could with them there. There were some people who I really wanted to kill off, so it made it kind of ironic that I was like, I wish I could kill you, but I'm not gonna. But there weren't any characters that really made me be like, I love this dude or chick. I think a huge reason for this too is just the amount of characters that there is. This game has 8 playable characters. Comparing it to a game like Detroit Become Human, where you have 3 main characters that you can really connect to and really get invested into, this one just had a little bit too many to really love 1, 2, or 3 of them. So no, you're not going to be playing this game because you love the characters. On a side note, I want to talk a little bit about the voice acting and the actors in this game. Even though I didn't find myself loving any of these characters, I could appreciate the voice acting and the actors in this game. This game has some solid voice acting. There's some scenes with certain characters going crazy or they're sounding like gonna die, and it's good. It's solid. It's where you can tell it's like, okay, these aren't just voice act, they're actors. Like, you can tell, you can hear it. So this game has some really solid voice acting. Doesn't go without saying that there's sometimes that the voice acting and the overall cringiness of what you're watching does break the immersion sometimes. But again, for me and my girlfriend, we just found it funny whenever that happened. So I'm not gonna take away points for that. If there had to be a character that I want to focus in on, and this is kind of leaking over to the gameplay, which is where we're going anyways, I want to talk about the therapist section. In between each chapter, you suddenly find yourself in a therapist's office with this dude asking you random questions about what are some things that make you afraid, and pretty much just checking your sanity. As you're playing the game, you're also trying to figure out, who is this therapist, why is he asking me these questions, and who am I, who am I playing as, right? Considering this game has 8 playable characters, when you're in the therapist seat, you're like, is he talking to one of the characters in the game, or is he literally talking to me, the player? You know, breaking the third dimension, the fourth wall. You know what I'm talking about, breaking that wall. This was one of my favorite sections in the game, because not just was the therapist really good at being creepy, but some of the questions that the therapist asked me and some of the choices that I made during these sessions impacted my game. So it always got me thinking, what is he gonna ask me next, and how is it gonna impact the game, if it even will. Now, in terms of actual gameplay, there's not really much I can talk about. It's pretty basic, bare bones. You know, you have some quick time events, which aren't really all that bad. I think the moments that they use them were well done, and they weren't too hard, but they also weren't too easy. So even then, they did a good job with that. There's some games that overdo it, and they're just constantly using it. I think that this one did a good job at putting it in where necessary. I will say I really loved how they used the motion control features. I played this on a PS4 and a PS5. I've done 2 playthroughs of it. And yeah, there's times during scary moments that you're not supposed to move your controller. And I love those moments, honestly, especially in parts where I just wanted to like freak out. I messed up a couple of times and I liked it. I applaud this game for having that in there. In terms of visuals, I think this game looks really pretty. Plus, it also helps that you do have some familiar faces. If you're like a big movie person, or even not, you might recognize a face or two because the characters are based off of real life actors. So that made it cool when I would see someone like Josh or this other blonde girl that I don't remember, but I could recognize their face and be like, yo, I've seen this person before in a movie. So that kind of added to everything. And like I said, it is a pretty looking game, especially with it being as old as it is now. I think it looks solid. So yeah, that pretty much does it from my perspective on Until Dawn in 2022. So if you are wondering what it's like to play this game or watch this game from a backseat gamer's perspective, if you want to play this with a partner, here is what my girl had to say about the game.
It's on and they can hear me. Okay, I really liked the game because it felt like a movie the entire time. Occasionally, I had to make decisions. It was really cool to actually get to like see how your decisions resulted in possibly killing off people. It was cool because like I had an attachment to some characters. Other characters I couldn't care less about. Not naming people, but Emily. And it was cool, yeah, because you like got to see their relationships build. Also, just like trying to figure out, like, I love mysteries, and so trying to figure out what the heck was going on, like, and who it was doing all of it to them. Like, I really enjoyed the sessions with like the therapist or whoever that guy was, and having him like talk to you as if like you, like at first you don't know who it like you are and like why he's talking to you, and then you slowly figure that out, which was really cool. Because I liked that, because then they used your deepest fears, which was a little terrifying, but also really cool that they were able to do that. Yeah, I liked knowing all of the main characters, because I felt even more attachment when like I recognized the characters like by their actors, because I knew like almost all of them. So that was cool, because I'm like, oh my gosh, like this must be a really cool game if they have these like famous people in it. So that was cool, and I think that made it feel even more like a movie than anything, just being able to like know the characters, know the actors, and I don't know, I got really invested. I'm a scaredy cat, but I got invested, and also peeked through my fingers a lot of the times. But overall, I think it was really good. From a watching perspective, I might have a lot more anxiety if I was the one actually playing the game, but I think like as someone just watching it, it was cool to see the character development and to figure out like the mystery and what was actually going on.
Okay, and that's gonna do it for this video. So I hope you all enjoyed watching. Please comment down below what you think of Until Dawn. I am gonna leave the last couple of minutes with just some discussion that me and Sadie had, kind of just talking about the games and things that we liked and stuff. So if you want to listen to that, feel free to. But this concludes the reviewing part of the video. So on that note, I'm gonna go ahead and sign off. So thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, don't forget to leave a comment, and do not forget to subscribe to one of the most amazing YouTube families out here. Anyways, I love you, Wolfpack, and I will see you all next time.
So the only thing that I wasn't a huge fan of was, spoiler alert, the Wendigos. So for me, I really like trying to figure out like who was doing everything, and so like when we found out like the human aspect of it, I thought that was really interesting, and like that was in the realm, like my brain was never once in the supernatural, because I thought the game was a lot more like horror story, as in like somebody is doing it to them, not something. So when that happened, I felt like a little bit let down, because I felt like I couldn't even have imagined that, and I didn't want to imagine that because I thought it was someone. But that's kind of just my personal preference, because I thought it was like more of a horror mystery, like who's doing this. And so when I found out that it was Josh at first, I was like, what? Like, how is he alive? And that was really cool. I liked that the story like extended beyond that, but I definitely thought like they built it up so much as like the guy in the woods that you'd seen a few times, and like you kept finding clues about him. So I totally thought, like I knew that was kind of a setup to make it feel like it was him and not Josh, but I also like I felt like they were building up to something with that, and then it didn't really go anywhere. You just find the guy in the woods and he turns out not to be a bad guy, he turns out trying to help. So I mean, like, that was interesting, but I thought they could have done more with, like, the human aspect rather than, like, having it go supernatural. But other people might love that it went supernatural and was, like, Wendigos. Because, like, it's interesting. It's cool. It took out the realistic factor for me just because, like, they added a supernatural part.
Because that's what I wanted to ask. Like, everything human, I don't think, like, them tacking on the supernatural part takes away from everything, all the human part.
Correct. I don't think it took away anything from the human part.
But you are saying, like, you would have preferred that there just wasn't any supernatural layer?
Yeah, maybe if I watched it again and, like, saw hints at the supernatural.
Well,
I like to try and, like, figure it out
Well,
and, like, figure out what's going on. And I guess, like, I never did that because I was not in the realm of, like, thinking that there was
Yeah.
something supernatural. So when it happened, it felt like it was way out of left field for
what about
me.
the ghost?
I do remember that.
Were you believing it then, or were you just like...
That's
no?
when it started to be like, okay, maybe there's something supernatural here. But even with the ghost,
It wasn't like a Wendigo. You're like, oh,
yeah,
ghost,
yeah, a Wendigo. I was like, wait, what? And like that happened in Uncharted 2. I'm like, oh, this is a realistic
Those games
game.
are crazy.
And then a Wendigo comes up, and I'm like, okay, maybe not as realistic as I thought. Maybe I'm totally wrong, and Wendigos exist in the world, and I'm not even gonna go there because that's terrifying. But I definitely, like, just for me, personal preference, I felt a little bit of disappointment because I thought it was more of a realistic, like, humans are the enemies, are the ones that are causing it all. So when, like, a Wendigo,
So that's what I want to ask. Causing what? Causing it? When you say
causing
causing it all? Because
like I know
in my head,
Josh
it still
called.
all was Josh. So that's why I'm like, what?
No, I guess that's true. Like, it all was Josh, except there were certain, like, when, who was it? I can think of it. Meghan Markle
Jessica?
is the actor. Yeah,
Juan?
when Jessica was taken.
Like, you thought that was Josh?
Yeah, like, there were certain people that were, like, attacked that I thought there was a human reasoning behind it. And so when it was a
Even when you saw
Wendigo,
the huge hand.
I didn't see the hand. I
Oh, you just saw it
blinked.
get taken.
I
You
just saw it get taken.
so you're
Yeah,
like,
so
oh,
I was like, who
someone.
took Jessica? Wendigo is not my thought.
Yeah. And okay, so you're saying you would have wished that even though it seemed like some supernatural was going, that it would have been like just all like human, but the fact that it kind of mixed, you were left a little bit disappointed.
Yes. But I feel like the more we talk about it, the more I'm like, okay, like, I get why they did it, and, like, it was still cool. Like, it really was still cool. I just think in the initial moment when it happened, I was like, oh. And maybe it's just because, like, the last game we played was Uncharted, and I'm like, what's up with the Wendigos? I feel like they're kind of like a cop-out to, like, make a big, like, here's a big surprise, throw a Wendigo in there. But I don't know. Because that could be very controversial. 'Cause I think it was, like, cool. And I still love the game and would highly recommend it, just because it felt like watching a movie. I just was not expecting, like, that kind of supernatural aspect. I did like that the Wendigos were Josh's sisters, like, or at least one of them.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was a cool twist
Both
because
of
I'm like, were they
Well,
both?
one of 'em.
One of them.
There's a lot
there
of
was the head.
Wendigos.
Yeah, one of
But
them,
one of 'em for
was.
sure was.
I thought that was cool. The way that they, like, added that. Because I wanted to know. I think, okay, what it was I was genuinely thinking that one of his sisters survived and was, like, helping. So my whole thought
That
was, like,
crazy.
Josh
Oh, okay.
and his
I
sister
get
were
what you're
orchestrating
saying.
everything. So when Josh turned out to be it, I thought his sister was orchestrating on another level, and I thought that was going to be the surprise. So I had this expectation that it was, like, this whole
Yeah.
revenge plot and that somebody
Yeah, there
was
we go.
actually, like, alive still. And I thought that was going to be so cool when, like, that bomb dropped and it's like, oh my gosh, she didn't die. And then it turned out that she was a Wendigo. And then I was like, man, like, I feel like my version was going to be cooler. Like, if it was, like, this huge revenge plot and, like, everyone who had been mourning her this entire time and she was actually, like, alive and she was the one causing all of this pain. Like, I thought that was going to be a cool twist. And it just ended up being a different twist, which is still cool. I liked my ending better.
That's fair.
If that makes sense.
That's fair. All right. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
So just to add a little bit of closure to that whole talk I just spoke about a little more with Sadie, I think when it comes down to it, there's multiple mysteries in this game. The first one, or one of them being the whole Josh thing, But then after all the questions get answered with Josh, there's like a whole second mystery, right? The whole second plot. And that's what Sadie was trying to say, that she didn't like that it was, the whole second mystery was supernatural, that it was like unrealistic. Like, she would have liked if that whole second part would have also been like a bigger, you know, more realistic plan. Her words, not mine. Something that she could have figured out on her own, but was so well put in the story that she just couldn't. But she found it kind of cheap that it was just like, okay, so it's just something supernatural. Like, I never would have guessed that. And she didn't appreciate that.
I mean, yeah, I could see it being like the sister revenge plot. Like, one of them didn't actually die, and so she teamed up with like the guy in the woods, and like they orchestrated it for some reason. I don't know why the guy in the woods would do it, but maybe something like there where it actually like, I mean, even like it could be Wendigos, but or like not Wendigos, but like fake Wendigos. Like they could like
That's what you
put on a show where like it was really them behind the scenes the whole time, just trying to scare them. And like all this, like what if that happened and the guy was in on it and he like comes up and tries saving him from something that's not even like actually real?
Yeah.
And then, like, I don't know, I feel like that would be really cool. And like my example of this is at the tip of my tongue, and I can't think of it because I know that there's an example where like they totally just faked it out and it's not even real. Oh,
Well,
I know.
Josh gets sawed in half. Or not?
It makes me think of Spider-Man. The second one in Tom Holland, where everything is fake and like it's just like this virtual reality. Yeah.
Mysterio.
I don't know why.
Hopefully you guys have seen that Spider-Man.
Yeah,
I know
sorry.
this example, but go on.
But I could see that like, I mean, this is like a way advanced version of it.
Like they were showing Mysterio and fighting against the big monsters, and everyone thought that was real, and then it was like psych.
But it wasn't.
Fake.
It was orchestrated for a cause. Like I could see.
So that's what you were
I
hoping.
mean,
You were hoping that none of the supernatural really was. You were just like, I wish that this all just could have been like real, because at the end of the day, that's what for you, and just in life makes things more interesting when this is something that really could happen.
Yeah, and I think like with the therapist too, for some reason like with him, he kind of made me think of like, what if this is just one huge like experiment and like Josh doesn't know and like they don't know, but like him asking all the questions,
Cool,
and then like it keeps going, you know, and like there's like Wendigos and it's all that, and it's just like this huge social experiment to see how people would like act and treat each other. Like it's just I don't know, I think the therapist, just like the way he was asking like what scares you and all that, like I know it was to like design the game kind of based off of your fears, but I also could see that like them implementing it later on to like something that's real, but it's like a bigger picture as to why it's all happening.
Just, oh well, he was crazy and it was all fake.
Yeah, he was crazy, it's all fake, and Wendigos are killing people.
Wendigos are real.
Like it just like I wanted the expectation of like it all would make sense in my head, and it wasn't just like, man, I just have to accept the fact that there were Wendigos.
Wendigos are real,
and Josh is crazy. Like I thought it would be cool if there was like a whole nother explanation. Yeah. And like even if like Wendigos are in there, like if there's just a way that they can make it like seem like there's Wendigos. It's like a Scooby-Doo. That's it. It's Scooby-Doo. Where every time it seems supernatural, but it's always a person under the mask.
So you were hoping it would be a Scooby-Doo.
I was hoping it would be like Scooby-Doo. Maybe that's it. I love Scooby-Doo.
With the Josh?
There was with the Josh thing, but I knew that there was a person behind Josh. And so I was trying to figure out, but the whole time I knew, like, and so I was just thinking that was going to be the case, and it wasn't.
I got you. Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Oops, sorry. Daddy's calling me.